I've come to deliver another sermon unto you. And this sermon is one that is mad important because it's one that I couldn't possibly bring to you. I couldn't possibly bring this to you. It's one that I couldn't possibly have fostered in my own head. It's a sermon that I needed to listen to sisters and siblings to be able to cobble together, okay? I needed help with this one, okay? And I just want to say this for anybody out there who may be a delusional light skin. I'm just going to say this for you. We cannot really give anybody advice about confidence, personal happiness, motivational speaking. That's not really our lane. And I'm going to tell you why. And this is something that floated up in my head when I was talking about Beyoncé, or rather when I was listening back. You heard what I'm saying? When I was listening back to when I was talking about Beyonce, I was like, wow. And you know what? Of course, I'm talking about Beyonce. I feel like you can hear it in my voice. I'm just you know what I mean? Because again, there are so many things that I was saying that I wasn't hearing, that I wasn't catching. And so listening to it back, I'm like, ooh, a few things. So one of those things that I wanted to say that popped out to me was me acknowledging that Beyonce is trying to curate herself as perfect, and that nobody has ever said that she was ugly or said anything really unkind about her. And I think that it's something that I'm still sitting with this. I didn't know this. This isn't something that's known to me. It's something that I'm learning. It's something that I'm seeing. It's something that I'm trying to uplift. Again, I still fuck up. I'm still trying to learn. I'm still learning. And so, yeah, just acknowledging that someone who is admixed, light-skinned, and in a particular, you know what I mean? In a particular space, causing harm, causing confusion, causing manipulation. That person being seen as perfect, being seen as nice, someone to be like, I wasn't connecting that in real time. And I feel like that's something that needs to be uplifted. And before I go to Beyonce, I'm going to uplift that on myself. I feel like, some of you may or may not know me from the internet. I started recording videos when I was 17 years old. My partner, who was almost a decade older than me, was yeah, let me get you a camera. Maybe it'll be something that'll be fun for you to do. You already make videos on Facebook being silly. Maybe it'll be something that you do for life. And so that's how this all started. 2007 in a bathroom. And I didn't know what I was gonna share. I didn't know what was gonna come out of me. I didn't have a plan. I wasn't the new YouTube folks that are I'm gonna make video essays. I've got them planned out. I'm working with a team. That was not the vibes. I just kind of jumped up on there and said hello. And I think that that's another layer to this. Growing up, most of the time, people didn't say anything negative about my appearance unless they were talking about me being fat. For the most part, I understood myself to be okay looking as a person, but that I was fat. Especially when people would be like, your face so pretty, you should lose weight. You know what I mean? It was just very obvious from how they were talking to me that nothing's really wrong with me, but I do need to not eat as much food. And as far as I was concerned, I was not going to abide that. That just seemed silly. So I was word, you're not telling me I look bad. You're telling me that I'm fat? Okay? Again, I just want to be honest, with where I'm coming from, with, my perspective and my lens. I grew up, for the most part, being told, you have a really pretty face, but you need to just not eat so much food. And I was fuck you, for, my whole life. And I'm not going to say that there's no harm there. There's times where I think back to this one comment that this man made, and in retrospect it's hilarious, but it's just such a it just belies how men really see anybody, really. That's not a man. something to use, just something to utilize. But this man deadass told me, you're like a Ferrari with some monster truck tires on them. And that's why, like, it's hurtful. Like, it's hurtful to just see you just be fat because you could be so much more. Just take those tires off you. And I'm like, you just compared me to a fucking car, dude. You just told me I was a fucking car. Like, how can I take this seriously? You know? And granted, like, I still am gonna eat. I'm still gonna grow up. Still gonna have a good time. But that was my lot in life, you know? People being like, you're so pretty. Why are you being a fat bitch? That's literally what I dealt with. And so, I know I'm laughing and shit, but like, that is like not the experience that fat, deep, dark skinned femmes get. Like, there's no historical light skin symbol, for ugly. There's no universal understanding of someone just being not visible, and it's couched in a lighter skin, mixed looking phenotype. I just want to hammer home that, like, people literally still make caricatures of mammy figurines and just overly fucking exaggerated looking cartoons to depict black folk. Like, there was no Precious, no Big Mama's house, no, you know what I mean? It's like, when people would, like, make fun of me for being fat, there wasn't the additional anti-blackness of it all. Misogyn war of it all. Like, that wasn't happening. Like, when I think of, like, fat, light-skinned people, like, that, like, I saw, you know, I'm not gonna be shady. Like, I don't have a lot of names. I'm not gonna say that they're not there. I'm not gonna say they're not there. They are. I know Jill Scott, Queen Latifah. I feel like some people would call Queen Latifah in the middle, but here's the thing about lighter skin. It's a spectrum. Like, a lot of people are lighter skinned, more so than they are deep dark skin, if that makes sense to you. So the lighter you are, like, the less you are experiencing. This is not to say that there's no brown skinned people that are experiencing colorism. This is just to say that the brunt of it, the erasure, the lack of believing when folks are speaking about shit such as this, like, that is really centered on certain folk. And so that's why, you know, I could go and make a YouTube video and people will just follow me. That's why I could say things that were uncredible and people will just believe me. Like, there are a lot of things that people will just accept about lighter skinned people. There are a lot of ways that we can operate and people will still fuck with us. Like, there were times where I was just being fucking rude, like rude as hell, and just like not being kind or gentle, not being curious, and folks were accepting that behavior. I'm not saying everybody, but I'm saying that, like, there were folks that were not, like, there were not many consequences for my behavior. That is what I'll say. Like, I really do think, like, there was a sport in just being, like, stank and, like, really rude. And I think, you know, for some people it may have been funny. For some people it may have really come off as just pure unadulterated anti-blackness, because there were a lot of times where there were folks who were not necessarily mixed or lighter skinned that I was having, like, back and forths with. And again, this is not to say that in every instance that it was anti-blackness, but how the fuck could I know? Let's be real. Like, I don't want to be sitting here trying to, like, figure out how anti-black I was. I'm just gonna be saying I was anti-black, period, and it was fucked up. And so there were lots of just moments where I just was not behaving in a way that anyone should really fuck with. But I think, much like Trisha Paytas still has fans, I think that even the most, like, just vile and just uncaring lighter skinned people can really just live a long time as just disgusting ass energy filled people, and people will really just, I don't want to say accept, because I feel like that's not what's happening. I feel like that's probably violent to say, because who can accept the oppressor oppressing them, really? Like, it's just abusive to even think of it like that. But I think there were a lot of times where I think people had a lack of boundaries with me, and I had a lack of boundaries with people, and so it was a recipe for disaster from the beginning. And I think that that's a whole nother layer to this as well. And so people thinking that like Beyonce, anybody on earth is like automatically good or nice because they're a lighter skinned person, that is unfortunately a politic. Like, that is unfortunately a real thing. Like, it's just real. Like, there are people out there who are so anti-black that they will really act as if they could only hear from lighter skinned people. They will act as if they need the ancestry to be ratioed in order to value life. And this is like not something that people are just saying to like incite like pain or like hurt. Like, the fact that anybody could think that is just honestly shows like how manipulated we have been by society. Like, we live in a society that erases the people that are saying this shit. And so for other folks to engage with it and not see. With that being said, getting back to Beyonce, I just think like for all the power that Beyonce has, I have yet to see her actually like uplift trauma that she could have perpetuated. And honestly, you don't really see a lot of people who have platforms being like, hey, I learned how I'm harming people. Let me uplift this. Like, they're always trying to get ahead of shit. And so that also brings me back to Lemonade, that like maybe Lemonade was a way to get ahead of someone trying to blackmail her. Because like there's a part of me that feels like Jay-Z may really have a whole side family. He may really have a whole, you know what I mean? Like, I don't put it past. I do not put it past. And so she might have been like, look, I'm going to let them know you cheated just in case they find the receipts. But that we're good now and I forgave you. You know what I mean? It could have really been that. But they could have also just exploited something that is unfortunately quite toxic and painful, you know? Like, there's just a part of me that feels like Beyonce and her team look and see the climate. They know what's going on. So there's just a part of me that feels like they know that there are a lot of black women being disrespected, period. That there are a lot of folks uplifting that and recentering around that fact. And I think that it was a moment for her to put herself in the middle of that. And I think that that's like another moment to like really look at, because it's like she's invoking that black women are the most disrespected, but I feel like that porch was a moment, was it not? I don't know about y'all, but that porch just gave me pause, real tea. And so just getting back to myself a little bit, like there's nobody that is existing in the world that looks like me that people are like, oh, that's who you look like. Maybe Majin Buu from Dragon Ball Z. If you're a nerdy person, you may know who that is. Maybe Majin Buu. I have heard Majin Buu. I have heard Rakishi, but I think he looked good. So it's like, is that really a drag? Like Majin Buu too. So I don't know. It's like I'm not fat phobic. I'm decolonized. So I'm looking at Majin Buu. I'm looking at Rakishi. I'm like, threesome? Maybe. Anyways, I don't know. Anyways, enough about me having a threesome with Rakishi and fucking Majin Buu, bitch. Like, where am I? Off topic as per usual. But there is no systemic light skin attack abuse. Like, that's not real. And like, honestly, it's wild to like think about the time on Twitter when it was like team light skin, team dark skin. Because it's like, yo, that was just the colonized versus the motherfucking oppressed. Actually, damn. That's fucking sick. And motherfuckers thought it was just like every day. And so I I think about just past ways I've been colorist by just seeing some shit and not interrupting violence unfolding when I have power in the space. Like privileged people really, like, we hear about this shit and we're like, oh my God. And instead of being like, wait, I could jump up over there and say something. Like, that's where I'm at. It's like, wait, motherfuckers think I have power over them, and I'm over here thinking that I have power or I don't have power in this certain way, or I'm operating like I don't have power in this certain way. And this is not me trying to say I want to have power over people. It's just like, if I have power in a space to be censored, and like, it's just moments that happen where like I'll say something to somebody who is browner skinned, and then somebody else will like validate me who is browner skinned. Like, there are, like, it's never light skinned people who are like popping up like, yeah, you said something really important, I want to hear, because that's us. We think that we say the important stuff. And so I think, like, when it comes down to it, like, there's times where it's like I'll just notice in real time, like, people really just letting me talk, people really like give me a moment, you know what I mean? And I didn't realize that was violent. I didn't realize that was a part of violence. That, like, when I go to interrupt something, people really be like, hold on, hold on. And it could also not just be light skin. It could also be like just, you know, being admixed, being ambiguously racial. People automatically like do think that we like I hate to say this, but like people, this one person was like trying to be kind to me. I know, and I'm not saying this, I'm not trying to put you out there, but they were like, oh, they're like, I feel like you're the avatar, like you're the one, da da da. And I was like, oh, that's so fucking sweet, that's so nice. But I remember thinking to myself, like, bitch, I am nothing of the sort. I am nothing of the sort. Like, I like fucking like Aang, that's a hero. That's a hero for sure. But you know, I would never delude myself into thinking I'm the one. I think, in fact, like, because I've been a colonizer in black spaces, and because like white supremacy does champion me and my voice, like, I think that it can seem that way. Unfortunately, it can really seem that way, and it's really not that way. And so maybe that's why when I was trying to upload the Beyoncé video, it didn't upload, because I had to upload this one. Because this is the one that's like actually the one. Because I was really just trying to like lay the groundwork and talk about how I was a fan of her. And it's like, of course I was a fan of her, bitch. I look like her daughter. Come on now. And like, again, like when I put the wig on, people were gassing me. They were like, oh, you're giving Beyonce. And I was like, what? For real? Bitch. And it's like, think about all of the propaganda that Beyonce is. You know what I mean? Yo, this is the video. This is the one. Listen, and my spirit guides were like, don't upload that bullshit. Like, because I kind of wasn't even sure about it. I kept listening back to it like, I wish I would have said that. But now I know why. But Beyonce is a propaganda tool. Like, she really is. Like, she is a reminder that, like, us light-skinned people can intrude in black places and avoid critique, even when it's out there. Like, this critique about anti-blackness and ambiguously racial people, it's been existing. As I said, it's not a coincidence that I missed it. It's not a coincidence that I was somehow radicalized around colorism. Like, I was radicalized around colorism. It makes me think of Angela Davis, low-key. Think about it. There's some light-skinned elders that you know that are, like, colonized as fuck in black spaces. And, you know, again, like, it's why there was a climate for Rachel Dolezal and the other weird lady who was a fucking professor of black studies. Like, there's something there, y'all. There's something there. There's something there that white people are, like, recolonizing as the oppressed. Like, there's something there. I don't know. I'm not over there, though. I'm not over there yet. I can't be over there just yet. But maybe that's connected to Beyonce too, bitch. Maybe people want to be black so bad. They're like, okay, well, all I got to do is, like, get a little bit tan, put on a curly wig. You know what I mean? Like, low-key, like, maybe that's how people are really thinking about it. Because I'm watching Beyonce as a child, and I'm seeing her family, and I'm feeling connected, even though my family is not Creole. Like, they're from the South, sure, but it's not a Creole thing. So it's like I'm overly, overly empathizing, I'm projecting, you know what I mean? It's like, what's going on there? But again, that could, you know what, personally, one thing that I want to lift up, no, this is such a sidebar. Let me stay on Beyonce. I'm gonna say it so that I can have a pin in it. But one thing that I recognize is like some people that I watch on YouTube, I watch because of trauma, you know? Like I was telling y'all that I've been trying to get into cis men, and the truth of the matter is like cis men in on YouTube especially, like some of them put out some really great content, but I just know there's like so many people behind the scenes helping out. So it's like, I'm glad that they're giving credit, but you know, sometimes I look at people's content and I'm like, man, I know you're getting help and like you're not really citing your sources. Like it's just, there's such a difference between certain, like just how cis men operate on the platform. Like they'll really just go on Google and really just bring you something. anyways, anyways, getting back to it, I was watching like this black cis man and I loved his content so much. And I'm like realizing that I was watching his content because I was really trying to heal around black cis men, just like moving and talking to me in a certain type of way. And so being able to choose how a black cis man is talking to me is such a thing. Like if I'm talking to black cis men and they're being colonizers and they're saying weird things, like of course, like when I see a black cis man like uplifting blackness, uplifting the community, like giving insight in a way that feels just different from what we be getting, you know what I mean? And then like just to, I don't know, just to like find out that like is just a performance in some way. And I think that perhaps brings us back to Beyoncé. Like a lot of her content is performance. A lot of her content and stuff that she couldn't possibly know or have all for herself. She has to rely on other folks, black creatives and white creatives. And I think that it shows like a very mixed view of life. Like in my honest opinion, I feel like at first she was using Ashanti, you know, to pattern. I said Ashanti, but I meant to say Amerie, who is another mixed person. Like, there are a lot of mixed women who are in the industry around the time Beyonce was getting started, and she was eating them up. And the thing of the matter is, I think connecting with Jay-Z was another move, too. Because it was deeper than just being like, I choose a black man. It's I choose black men. Okay? I'm just saying, like, when us mixed people choose black folk, especially to date, people do treat us a different type of way. Like, when I was dating a black woman versus me dating a white man, completely different engagement. Truth be told, completely different engagement. And it's just wild because it's like, damn. It's like, you know? Because dating one person don't really mean shit. Do it? Do it? But it do. I don't know. I feel like people are really into the optics of stuff over what it could really mean or what it could really even be.